everybody, and welcome back to the LGBTQIA Podcast with Paige. Today we're here with Aaron. My name is Paige. I am the LGBTQ Officer for Aston Student Union, and my pronouns are she, her.
Hello, my name's Aaron. As Paige said, I'm a final year student at Aston University, and my pronouns are he, him.
And we are here today doing the G is for Gay episode.
Ooh.
So welcome, Aaron. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really
To be here too.
Yeah. Should we start off with a nice simple question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So name something that made you happy today.
What made me happy today? The first thing that comes to mind is that, I'm healthy, that I got up, and that I'm able to get on with my day. I know during this pandemic, there are some that are maybe not as lucky as ourselves who are able to, get up and get on with everything. So I'm just very grateful for that. But at the same time, on a more lighter note, it's Friday. Yes, Friday. And every Friday, myself and my boyfriend, we schedule the evening to watch some Netflix together, long distance. So it's quite nice to do that
lovely.
every Friday. It's quite cute. So
yeah, it's so nice to have something to look forward to as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. What's on the? Do you know what you're watching tonight?
We're watching a Korean drama at the minute, actually. And it's quite funny. It's about this single mum, who's a producer at a movie studio, and she inherits all this debt from the previous CEO of the company. He signed it over to her without her knowing because she signed this form. And basically, over the course of this drama, 4 different men enter her life, love interests, 3 from her past, and one who's this gang member who's basically in charge of the investment to solve her debts. And it's just this huge comedy drama where she's running around doing all these things. So it's quite fun.
It does sound fun. Well, that sounds really wholesome. So Aaron, what does being gay mean to you?
What does being gay mean to me? That this is something that's evolved over the years for me. I'd say now, currently, it's something that I'm quite proud of. Perhaps it's not so much of a defining characteristic, but it's something I'm openly gay. I'm proud to be myself, and I see it, as a facet of myself. So yeah, I'm just quite happy with that, really.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say not a defining characteristic.
Yeah.
I find that incredibly interesting. I suppose when you first take on a label that fits you, it's quite easy to be all encompassed in it, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to be controversial, but at the beginning, I think when I was figuring out who I was, finding a label or a group of people that I could resonate with really helped me. But nowadays in society, I almost don't want it to be a defining characteristic because I feel like there's a lot of perhaps stereotypes or elements within society where we're all trying to find a box that we fit within. And I think in my mind, I want us to eventually reach a place where, labels aren't necessary. I know we're not there yet, but that's kind of where I see it. So.
No, I think it's a really nice idea, and it's a bit of a dream, isn't it? It's something we all hope and strive for.
Exactly.
I really appreciate that. So, what is an experience that you've had as a gay person that you wish more people knew about?
I would honestly say hate crime. I feel like while we've come incredibly far as a society, especially within the UK, I feel like there's still a significant amount of hate crime. I myself had an experience just over 3 years ago. Yesterday, actually, it was 3 years since I got discharged from hospital. And that was quite an experience for me. It's just with while the majority of society perhaps think that there are no longer issues perhaps within the community, there's still a lot that needs to be done perhaps. And I feel like unless you're part of the minority or you're active within that group, I feel like sometimes things get overlooked.
It's easy to forget, isn't it? Because we see pride events, especially in the UK, and we see, rainbows flying, and everyone kind of gets this false sense of belief that things are better now, and we don't have this crime and stuff anymore. But it happens more frequently than anybody would want, I think.
For sure.
And I suppose that's well worth remembering when we have these celebratory events and things, isn't it? That while this surface level is lovely, you have to remember there's a lot of pain that kind of got us to where we are right now, if that makes any sense.
Yes, like almost in a sense where we've got to has been paved by the people before us, and I think while
Absolutely.
sometimes we do take that for granted, I feel like at the same time, there's still more that can be done and needs to be done. So I think it's finding a balance with being grateful and having the freedoms that some people around the globe still don't have, and we sometimes and often, in my case, take for granted, to just freely express ourselves and be our open and sometimes sassy selves, just to have that,
Only sometimes sassy.
just
That's not a regular occurrence.
just to have that experience and to be open and free on our own personal journeys.
That's lovely. So, have you ever been to Pride?
Yes. I've been once. So my first time was actually in Birmingham with Aston LGBT SOC, which was quite fun. It was in 2018. It was an experience. I have varying opinions on Pride. I was actually meant to be going to Brighton Pride for the first time last year. But, as we all know, coronavirus. So
Miss Corona.
yes, honey, like she's doing bits, and
she is. We're not loving the bits, but she is doing bits.
yeah, for sure. Like, so
No.
yeah.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I feel like, while Pride is nice, and you can get together with your friends and have an experience and celebrate ourselves and our identity, I do still feel like compared to what Pride was for, years and years ago at the beginning of all of the different movements, I feel like it's become a lot more commercialized, and I feel like in a sense it's become more of a bandwagon or a train to some extent for companies to jump on, and almost in the same parameters as perhaps greenwashing and sustainability, with organizations. I feel like sometimes organizations paint all their branding in the color of the rainbow and say that they're accepting, but then at the same time they don't have policies or inclusion groups perhaps for those who are part of the LGBTQ plus community within their organizations. So I think as well as the fact there's still a lot that needs to be done in terms of regulatory elements for trans and non-binary recognition. There's still a lot that can be done. So while it's nice to have the celebration, and I love the fact that we have Pride, at the same time, I kind of, I have mixed feelings. I love Pride, but at the same time, I feel like Pride's lost its focus a little bit.
That's absolutely understandable. And I think one key thing to take away from this, whichever company you work in or university you go to or school you're at, whoever you are viewing and watching this, if you're an ally or you're part of the community but you want to be an activist, look into the policies that your company or school or university have. Do they have safe spaces for LGBTQ plus people? Do they have these working groups? Do they have inclusion policies that use language that includes not just like the LGB, but like the T and the I and the A? You're absolutely right. There's policies and regulatory elements that aren't being changed, and there's a surface level pride thing that's like, oh, we're inclusive, rah rah rah. But unless there's that policy level, there's no platform for people to act inclusively, if that makes sense.
For sure. Like, I'm not trying to be a party pooper and like rain on the Pride parade, but honestly, I had to put that out there. I feel like with everything going on right now, we've got to, these issues are still going on. I know while a lot of them are being pushed to the side, we still need to be focusing on these things and thinking about how we can move forward together, because I feel like there's almost this complacency. Like I'm going to address it. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but
Address
I
it.
still feel like there's an element of privilege that I have as a white gay male within the community. I feel like even though I am a minority, I still feel like there's a level of privilege that almost I can not have to worry if I don't want to about some of these issues, because it's not my everyday experience. Like nowadays, you don't see there's a lot more representation in the media. There's a lot more acceptance just in amongst the general public, and I don't face the same everyday discrimination I perhaps experienced growing up or in high school, or do you get what I mean?
No, I absolutely do understand.
Mm,
And while that arm has been reached out for you, it may not necessarily have been reached out for people who are trans or
exactly.
people who are asexual or people who are intersex. They're maybe not getting the same support and recognition and representation that they deserve.
Yeah, I feel like this is something that definitely needs to be, worked on going forward. And on a positive note, I feel like there's a lot we can all do and educate ourselves, and
Absolutely.
help to educate others, which is what we're doing with this podcast. So,
The takeaway is if you see a rainbow flag on, your bank or, your local grocery shop, just remember that doesn't necessarily mean that they're LGBT friendly. It just means they've talked to their marketing team about putting a rainbow on something. That's literally what it means. So just think about that, I guess, in more depth.
exactly. It's like
How would
glitter
you?
is cute. It's like glitter is cute, but it's, just surface level. So
It is
glitters and
absolutely,
rainbows.
absolutely. So, if you could change anything in the world right now, apart from COVID, what would it be?
Ooh, this has sent my mind spinning. Okay, so there's a lot of things. I'm a very opinionated person.
That's fine. We love that on this
So,
podcast.
oh, I feel like there's two things. I think I'm gonna focus on the first one. Okay, so for me, I feel like with everything going on right now and the negative spin that the media is putting on virtually everything, I feel that practicing gratitude is something I'd like to change. I'd like to make, that more widespread and just reflecting on what you're grateful for.
Mm.
So whether that be, the education opportunities, your family being healthy and happy, um, just being able to connect in the way that we can with these technologies. Because, for example, in prior pandemics, they wouldn't have had access to all the things that we have now, like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or social media or even this
This software wouldn't be
platform,
free. We
exactly,
couldn't be
no.
using this platform. So
I don't think like, like 2 plastic cups and a piece of string would suffice. So, I feel like,
yeah,
like
imagine sending it in the post to like people literally all over the UK and beyond. And
yeah,
like I've interviewed someone who's literally in Germany right now. Like I couldn't have done it without the technology I've
no,
got. So
I'm just, there's a lot we can be grateful for, and I think trying to like reframe our mindsets, because it's hard. I know, of everything going on, to be absorbed by everything around us and all the noise and having, it, because we can't fully tune out, but at the same time we have to an extent protect ourselves. But to have that positivity, and maybe at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, just think of perhaps 3 things that you're grateful for. It just kind of puts you in a better mind space.
I'm trying to think of some things I'm grateful for at the moment. I'm grateful for the sunshine. Over the past couple of days where I am, there's been some glorious sunshine, and that vitamin D, I'm just soaking it up. Oh my days.
Take it in.
That is what I am so grateful for that.
Mm. Well, I'm
More gratitude.
grateful, to be back with my family right now. It's not the most ideal thing, but I'm happy to be with my family, and in a, comfortable environment, and being able at the same time to get on with university studies. Uh,
Yeah, it's really
mm,
fortunate, isn't it? I'm in a very similar position. I'm with my family. I'm surrounded by people who love me, and I can carry on with my uni work.
mm,
And my mum says, "Oh, when have you got a call? I'll take the dog for a walk, and I won't do the vacuuming between these times if
exactly.
you're on Zoom or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, it's just, having people around you, like a support network, and everyone being so considerate, and also having the technology to continue with university. Like, I know it's not the
Mm.
same, but I'm grateful to still be making progress with my, academia.
Absolutely. I mean, the education gap, I think it was the first time in like, and I could be wrong, in like since 2007 or something, that the education gap got bigger again.
Wow.
We've just, because of the pandemic, it's the gap we've got between people who are lower, kind of working class and upper class has widened again, because people don't have access to computers, or if they do, they've got a couple of other siblings who have to use it, so they haven't got the whole school day, and that's pretty scary, isn't it? So the fact that we have this, we can use our technology for fun things like making a podcast, it's an incredible privilege.
Exactly. Like I feel like we have way more available to us today than those before us would have had. So while there are blessings and curses to having all of this available to us, at the same time, something to be grateful for. It's just kind of a pattern for me, just to think of the things I'm grateful for. If I'm having a rough moment, to take a step back and be like, there's people that don't have access to the same level of things I do. And just to be like, at the end of the day, while everything is hard right now, someone has got it 10 times harder than I do. So I just need to, try and buckle up and get on. Like, I'm entitled to my feelings.
Absolutely.
But,
That's what I was about to say. I was going to say, by no means does that mean, like, if you're looking at this now, you're going, well, I have all the privilege in the world, but I still feel like crap. That is totally fine. And that is, you are completely allowed and entitled to feel that way. That's,
definitely. That's something, we all have and have to come to terms with. Just because someone's perhaps in a situation worse than yours doesn't mean that your feelings aren't just as valid. So I think that's something just to clarify there.
Absolutely. So I've had some really funny answers to this so far. What is the biggest stereotype of being a gay person that you live up to?
One word, sassy. I just, I'm like, it's not an everyday thing. Sometimes, I'm a bit more, it's depending on what side of the bed I get out on, whether we're at,
Oh yeah.
a 10 or a 5 or maybe even a 2. If you've annoyed me that much, it might be a 2. But I feel like this is something I've become more comfortable with, as I've really found myself within my identity and who I am as a person. I think I've become more sassy over the years, and I just think, it's just grown and grown and grown to sometimes, it might be a bit unbearable for some people. It's like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it.
Well, that's fair, and you know yourself, and if you accept that within yourself, and you go, some people are not going to like this, but I don't care because it is me.
I don't I don't care. Like, it's
Perfect.
okay, just be yourself. I think that's the most
That is,
important thing.
yeah, it's such a good like role model kind of thing to show, I guess, because you're just being yourself, and whether that's sassy or whether that's introverted or whether that's a bookworm or whatever it is, just you do you.
Yeah,
You do you.
exactly. Like, you might not believe it, but I used to be one of the quietest people ever, and now you just can't shut
No,
me up. So
I do not. In the time that I've known Aaron, dear viewer, he has never been quiet. So I struggle to believe it.
making up for lost time, Paige. Making up for lost
Absolutely.
time.
And I wouldn't have you any other way, frankly. So
Aw.
what would you say is the best part about being gay?
I don't know if I should say this really, but I'm just gonna say it, that the men.
The men.
And like I think it's something growing up, be finding it very uncomfortable being attracted to men, and having to maybe try not to make it obvious in the changing room that I was giving the side eye, or like
Just like, oh my.
like, ooh, like you're just having a moment, or the fact that you're no good at football because you're literally distracted, like the ball's coming at you, you're in goal, and you're just staring at like,
It's just like, oh my god, you cannot take your eyes off the person who's just
yeah,
kicked it. I don't know, what are they, attackers? I don't know.
exactly. I don't know. We weren't good at sport. We weren't good at sport. Like, this is a bit personal. It got to the point where because I do like being active, but physical education perhaps wasn't the best environment for me. I've always been very open as to who I am, perhaps a bit more quiet and a bit more subdued, but I was very obviously gay. It's not something I could really hide. And it got to the point where football once or twice a week was so much of an ordeal that I ended up joining, the girls' P group, just, walking around the field, gossiping,
Yeah, that's
because
it.
I
That
couldn't actually, manage in that environment. So
fair enough.
yeah, like
I tell you what, go on.
no, you go on.
No, I was just gonna say, you were saying like, oh, girls peeing. I was like, oh, I wonder what that was. Like thinking of my experience, and you were like walking around gossiping, and I was like, oh yeah, there it is. Apparently, we all had the same experience. Like, I did not do sports.
Well, it was
We
meant to be track and field, but it was more like keeping track of all the gossip while on the field. It wasn't like
and then
actual
the like
track and field.
boys were like playing over the other side of the field. You always had that group who were just keeping track of what was going on over there as well.
Yeah,
And
on their
my
little
days.
AstroTurf. Yeah,
Oh my days. Oh, that's
we have
so
some
funny.
moments, but yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
that's where I am with that. On a more serious note, I am just grateful to be part of the LGBTQ plus community. I feel like that's a journey that everybody goes through where they discover and find themselves, and whether reaching that level of acceptance and being happy. But as I said previously, like I don't make my the label being gay, etc., like a key part of my identity. So when I say I refer to things I'm grateful for, it's more just general things rather than in relation to my identity. But at the same time, I'm really proud to be part of such a vibrant and diverse community of loving and accepting and talented often people, so
Absolutely. I think it's
way.
a really valid thing to say, because just because you're part of the community doesn't mean that your experiences and your lived experiences will be different, and that the things that you have to go up against will be different. But other than that, you're just a person who's living their life, and so being gay isn't the thing you want to be known for, is it?
It's not like I'm ashamed of it. I think there's a differentiation. It's just, there's so much more to me as a person that I don't
Yeah,
want to be
absolutely.
walking around all day, justifying my existence. I know it, I think it's definitely easier for myself, but I want to get to a point, where I don't have to come out in the workplace, or, there is progress. Like while I was on my exchange in France, I almost went at the very beginning, I almost went back into the closet a little bit, and I was
Okay.
more subdued, and subdued for me is hard to imagine. So I was like, a little bit more quiet, a little bit more, yeah, let's just say quiet. And I didn't hide anything though. So on my social media, there was still, pictures of me with makeup on and glitter and photos at Pride. I just, I didn't verbalize it, and it felt liberating because,
Yeah.
like, I was quiet at the beginning, but after, people had those conversations with me, I ended up being the loudest in the room again. So everything restabilized, everything was
Yeah,
normal.
and the world went back on its axis,
Yeah.
and everything went back to normal.
Yeah.
I can
So
appreciate what you're saying, though.
mm,
It's that concept of being able to walk into a room and not worry about your sexuality being a problem or something you have to talk about, and just
mm,
being able to be yourself and express yourself on social media however you want. And if people around you want to make assumptions or talk to you or whatever, that's something you can hedge later on, I guess. But
for
you
sure.
don't feel like you have to walk into the room and be like, well, I'm gay, deal with it.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be that.
that's kind of what I dream of, not all the time, but I do hope for a day where, all identities are normalized and accepted. That's kind of where I'm at with my roadmap. I'm Aaron, I'm gay, but I don't, I'd rather be like, I'm Aaron, this is who I am,
Yeah,
and this is just a
absolutely.
facet of my identity.
Absolutely.
And you
It's
can
it's a
think what
part
you'd
of
like
it.
to.
Yeah. Yeah. I really resonate with that. I really think it's really nice. And you're not the first person to say that they don't want labels to be something that has to be here forever. And
Mm,
you'll just have to watch the podcast to find out who.
ah.
So what is and you've been at Aston for 4 years now with a placement year, same as myself. So you'll hopefully have a nice answer for this. And for someone who didn't know, Aaron was the LGBTQ plus officer for the student union. Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah, 2 years. We can still go back that far. Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Aaron's been really involved since day one. But what is your favourite thing about being part of the LGBTQ plus community at Aston?
I'll try and keep it simple and we'll go from there. Honestly, I want to say the people. I feel, the community is very vibrant and very open and accepting at Aston. I feel like this is something that has actually developed more over the course of being at Aston. Because I know at the very beginning, perhaps we weren't as vocal as we are now, and it's been nice to see, that transition almost. But yeah, definitely the people I miss, our regular Gosta socials.
I know.
Don't even Gosta socials.
Oh, I know. Good times.
That was actually by accident that time, so
That's fine. We can have sound effects. Before we started recording, Aaron was like, "How do you feel about sound effects?" And I was like, "You do you, boo." And so we've had an accidental, I don't know what it was, like a horn.
with air horn moment. Anyway, yeah, where was I? Gosta get-togethers. Yeah, I just miss the, and Pride Month and when we do have the Pride celebration, and we take part in the parade. Yes,
I've never done that. I watched it. I must have watched it the year you were in it, I think.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'll take part, and then it never got a chance to.
Yeah. It's it's an experience, and I'm hoping that I can come back in the future, as an honorary member and take part again, because it's something really enjoyable and it's nice, to be out and open and proud. And I just really love the community at Aston. And it's a shame, that we can't be together as much. And I know that I haven't been the most active or involved this year, being away from each other and everything. But I definitely encourage, being a part of the community. And it's really nice, really. Yeah, just the people for me, definitely.
The people are fantastic. This year, I mean, every year I've been involved has had just the most fantastic, wonderful people, and I can see their faces in my mind, and you know who you are if you're listening. But this year I've had so much fun talking to the second years and the freshers who I haven't had a chance to meet yet because I was on placement, and they're all so lovely, and they're just really genuinely kind people who want to get involved. And I'm so bitter that I've not been able to meet them in person. So
don't even. I've had to compartmentalize all those feelings, Paige, because otherwise it wouldn't be so great for this podcast. But I'd be off. I would be off. We'd be
just start sobbing like, oh my
God. 3 hours later. Yeah.
I'm the same. I would like to come back hopefully as an alumnus and walk in the parade. That would actually be really nice, and be like, I didn't get a chance to do it when it was my turn. Can I please play?
Yeah, let me back in. I'm sure they'll welcome you and welcome us for sure. So
I'll drag up these files and be like, remember this podcast? Let me in.
Back in the day. Dust the cobweb off the shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of just all the things we've talked about today, Aaron, is there anything else you just want to scream into the ether about being gay? Something that a message you want to tell the world, or just Banu, who'll be editing? Shout out to Banu.
Yeah, shout out to Banu. I just like to say, for everybody listening, just to be on a more general note, to be proud of who you are, regardless of how you identify, and just, I know it's a journey, but just to love yourself, and don't be afraid of, what other people might have to say or what other people think, because at the end of the day, you're beautiful as you are, and you don't need to change for anybody else, so perhaps if you don't know where you fit in, or, just focus on, finding and doing what makes you happy. I think that's the most important thing that I have taken away, from my own journey that I'm still on over the last few years. I feel like, Aston and Aston LGBT SOC have really helped me with that. So yeah, just to be proud and out, and, you don't have to shout out to the universe if you don't want to, but I'm proud to be gay. That's a part of who I am. I accept that, and yeah.
That's really lovely, and we're proud of all of you little gays out there, even if you don't want to shout it into the ether. We're proud of you anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on to this podcast today. We actually were so succinct. I don't know if anyone knows Aaron this well, but Aaron can talk, and so can I. And I was concerned this was going to be a 3-hour-long podcast, but we nailed it.
We did nail it,
Yeah.
I'm surprised also that there probably won't be any bloopers.
No, I think this was I think this is personal growth. I think we've just.
Growth.
Are we adults now? Is that it?
And in maybe in like not italics, what do they call them? I'm not a grammar queen. Anybody study English here? No.
No,
like parentheses, but yeah.
Okay.
I feel like in reference to maybe how we were before, if you want to have a little comparison, I think if you look back on the Aston LGBT page or perhaps the Student Union, you can probably find some bloopers from History Month 2 years ago.
You can.
Some of the perhaps chaotic moments between
That is a great,
me, Paige, and Nancy,
segue.
actually. That's 3 years of LGBTQ plus officers, quite a moment.
Perfect plug moment. Yeah. If anybody is interested, 2 years ago, Aaron and I worked together with Nancy, who was LGBTQ plus officer last year, and we made some incredible video content for History Month. It was so much fun. We were able to see each other, so we went all around Birmingham and the gay village, and those videos are on the Aston University Facebook page. Yeah. So you scroll back through the archives. It should be February 2019, and they are so educational and so much fun. But you are right; you will see a comparison. If you've not had enough of me and Aaron today, go take it.
If you want more. Anyway, stroke the ego there. We're fine. We're good. This is really enjoyable, Paige. Thank you for the opportunity just to have a little candid conversation for History Month. It's a very nice way to celebrate and just to reflect on how far society has come, our identities, and just have a candid chat. It's been a while, so
yeah, it has. It's been. This is just actually an elaborate ruse for me to just talk to people.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming.
Definitely, and hopefully, we'll be able to continue this conversation at some point in person. Hopefully, we'll see what happens, but let's remain optimistic and celebrate History Month. And Aston has Pride, so yeah.
Aston does have. Well, thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.